Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, where we will be talking about an exciting topic, Singapore's PDPL. My name is Mia Tolosits. I am the head of business development at Legit, which is a company behind our flagship product, Data Privacy Manager. Today, I'm joined by my two colleagues, our co-founder and CEO, Marian Bracic, and our colleague, Maya, who has put everything together. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Our intention is to make this webinar a little bit interactive. So we also encourage you to ask questions. There is going to be also time at the end for Q&A. But in the meantime, if you have a question to ask, feel free to post it in the chat, and we're going to do our best to get to it. So, Marian, how is Singapore?
Well, my experience so far is excellent. I really love it there. I was there like 2 weeks ago, and I'll be there again from next Monday. So I'll be. I'll make sure to let everyone know what we are doing in Singapore and how we are starting the business there, and basically using Singapore as our headquarters for expanding in the APAC region. But like from my personal perspective, I really love it there.
Yeah, no, it's a great country. You know, I was there many years ago, and it left a wonderful, lasting impression on me. So I'm also happy to hear your thoughts too. Excellent. But for everybody joining us today, as Marian mentioned, and he's gonna tell you that later, he will be in Singapore next week. So this is a great opportunity to meet with somebody. Marian, don't get embarrassed now, but he is really one of the pioneers in privacy, and he's truly a privacy legend. He knows so much about the content, everything privacy related, especially data privacy. So if you have any questions or want to find best practices or just get some advice, this is a great time to book a meeting. And of course, we are always here to help you. So if you have any data privacy related questions, just definitely get in touch with us. So look, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm just going to introduce what is DPM, what it does, just so that we put everything in a context. So Legit is a company. We are based in Croatia, and our flagship product is called Data Privacy Manager. In a nutshell, it's the smartest, simplest, and the most cost-effective way to manage customer data compliance. One of our key features is a fast scanning of structured and unstructured data sources. And very simply, our solution helps you to save significant time and resources. We are already deployed in more than 200 enterprises across the world in more than 40 different countries. So we're well versed in different regulations, not just Singapore's PDPL, but also GDPR, Saudi Arabia's PDPL, and so on. We are trusted by business leaders and backed by analysts such as Gartner, Quadrant, and Forrester's. We have our own AI-powered automation that reduces manual compliance tasks by a staggering 90%. Our platform is tailored and scalable. It adapts to your needs with your with our modular solution. It integrates easily into your systems, and typically clients can see results as quick as 2 months. So actually, Marian, before we jump into Singapore's PDPA, so I'm in business development. I talk to clients often. And one of the things they often ask me is like, for a smaller organization, so we're not talking, enterprise, maybe more like SME type of business who might have a limited budget. How do you actually, can comply with the regulations without, like, breaking the bank?
Well, I think the main thing, if you're SME, you gotta be pragmatic. You gotta think in terms of how much you can spend in terms of compliance, and how you need to organize yourself internally in terms of organizational units and roles, and delegating tasks within the company, so to make things efficient. The most important thing is to have your team understand the requirements. So in case of Singapore, understanding the PDPA is crucial. Having regular trainings and education helps. But most importantly, you need to understand the requirements, and you need to have someone. So for example, in Singapore, they need to have a DPO. Like that's the obligation. It's not like that in every country. Even though they are an SME, they need to have a DPO. It's less stringent than in Europe. For example, the DPO can do other things, which is like makes sense. Or you can have an external DPO who is in charge of the PDPA compliance. And then what helps, of course, is to make things as automated as possible. And this is where we can help. Privacy software is basically designed to automate processes and to help you keep things in order when it comes to the data protection requirements. So I would say these are the most important things for SMEs. For enterprises, it's a bit more complicated because of the sheer volume of data and different systems and the complexity of the IT landscape. Of course, they need to have much more technical automation, but for SMEs, the most important thing is to have your team understand the requirements, have a DPO who will be in charge, and then just give him the tool, give him the privacy platform where he can have the central cockpit, where he can basically have information about everything that happens in terms of data protection, and where these tasks and requirements will be automatically assigned to people, and you will not miss anything.
That's great. Thank you for clarifying that, because this is a question I think that's usually on everybody's mind. But let me also introduce you properly, because I just given everybody a snapshot. So as I mentioned, Marian is our CEO and Legit's co-founder. He has over 15 years of experience in data management and data protection. See, I told you you're in great hands. And he's not only a pioneer in privacy automation, but also a leading voice in application of AI to data privacy. He's a creator of our cutting edge platform, and he has been at the forefront of leveraging AI to simplify and scale privacy management. And Marian has this really unique ability to connect technical innovation with real world business challenges. And he has helped many of the organizations navigate the complexity of compliance and privacy at scale. Okay, Marian, I'm going to move it on to you now.
Thank you, Mia, very much. And hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to our webinar. What I'm going to do during the webinar is we are definitely going to touch upon the PDPA, but I'm sure most of you who joined know what the requirements are. What my intent is basically to help you explore Data Privacy Manager and how we can help you align with the requirements. 2 weeks ago, during my visit in Singapore, I already had a few meetings with several companies. We do have already local partners, and there was a lot of question and interest around Data Privacy Manager and what we can do in terms of helping you with PDPA. So this is what I'm going to cover today. So the agenda is very simple. I'll first talk about what we are doing in Singapore and where our goal is, and then we'll cover the PDPA requirements and how DPM helps. Mia already mentioned, like, Data Privacy Manager is the product, Legit is the company, and we are a global leader in privacy management. We have a lot of customers in different countries. What we have seen, and what is a good thing, is that most of the laws, like Singapore's PDPA, are very similar to GDPR. It is less stringent, it is even more simple, but the privacy principles are basically very similar all across the world. And this helps us as the software vendor collecting knowledge and basically helping you do very similar things like other companies in other countries are doing to do privacy the right way and basically to protect individuals' personal data. We are visible by the leading analyst companies such as Gartner, Quadrant, and Forrester. And everything we do is our own proprietary technology. We use the knowledge that we collect working with customers in different industries in different countries. And basically all the technology is not acquired. Everything is developed by our own team. We use AI for data discovery, classification, and we have a very robust tool set around privacy governance and privacy automation. So we are kickstarting our business in Singapore. We see Singapore as our headquarters for the APAC region. Like I said, I was there 2 weeks ago, and I will be there next week. And just to give you a little bit more information about this, what we are basically doing is we are a part of the CyberBoost Catalyst cohort. This is how we started. This is an international accelerator run by the Cyber SG TIG Collaboration Center and Plexel. And this has the support of Singapore Cybersecurity Agency and National University of Singapore. Like, we are one of the 10 cyber companies worldwide that made the cut. And we are very proud that we are there, and we represent privacy automation space within the cohort. This is a 6-month program that we plan to use to establish ourselves in Singapore, to start working with companies. We already do have local partners that we are working on with, both legal companies and IT companies that are our implementation partners. And what we are doing now, we are a part of the immersive bootcamp, where we are validating use cases with local enterprises, refining our go-to-market plan for Singapore, and of course the wider APAC region. So the program is great. Singapore is great, and I think this was one of the best decisions for us as the companies to establish ourselves there. What that means for you, of course, for every company in Singapore, is us being a part of the CyberBoost Catalyze reinforces our long-term commitment to Singapore as our regional headquarters, and really equips us with the network and insights to keep our platform tightly aligned with both local regulations and industry best practices. So I think you are in good hands when you work with us. Good. So the PDPA requirements in short, I think there is no need to go into details. The PDPC website is really good. It really gives a lot of information about this. I just wanted to remind you of the requirements so we can basically, when I speak about DPM, we can pinpoint specific capabilities of the platform to the requirements of PDPA. So the first one is to appoint a data protection officer. I've already mentioned this is a requirement. Every organization handling personal data in Singapore must appoint a DPO. This person can basically do other stuff in the company as well. There needs to be some evaluation of potential differences and whether they're okay within that role. But the DPO must be appointed and registered with the authorities. So that's one. The second thing is to obtain informed consent. Like, businesses must obtain explicit and informed consent from individuals before collecting, using, and disclosing their personal data. And individuals must be informed of the purpose for which data is being collected and used.
So actually, let me just ask you, Mariam, because this is another one of the questions that we do get. So if we get consent, does that mean that I can do anything, and I can put everything that I do with a potential client under consent?
Of course not. I mean, there needs to be a purpose limitation and basically transparency in communicating what the company is doing with personal data when obtaining consent. Basically, also limits you to the processing that you do with the data that you collect needs to be in line with what was communicated with the individual. So from that perspective, it's very important to know the purpose, understand the purpose, collect the consent, and basically then actually do what you said that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, because I think this is one of the misconceptions that some companies may have, that if you get consent, that you can do anything. So I'm glad that we cleared that up.
Of course. Then the third thing is the notification obligation, that the organizations must notify individuals about the purposes for which their personal data will be collected, used, or disclosed. And the purpose limitation, where personal data can only be collected, used, or disclosed for purposes that have been clearly communicated and even consented to from the individuals. Access and correction, in terms of individuals having the right to request access to their personal data and to correct any inaccuracies. And then the accuracy and protection, where businesses must make reasonable efforts to ensure personal data is accurate and complete. This goes hand in hand with data governance practices. The retention limitation, this is often neglected, but it's here. Personal data should only be retained as long as it's necessary for business or legal purposes. So in essence, you are not allowed to store and process personal data indefinitely.
And let me also actually ask you here on the retention limitation and retention in general, because I see a lot of clients are struggling with this. And can you maybe because it's a lot to handle, and different industries, different regulations, different countries, and so on. Can you just briefly touch upon how we actually solve this? Because I think this is something that's going to be really interesting for the audience.
Well, retention is so one thing is actually to keep the retention records, basically understanding how long you are allowed to store specific personal data, specific categories of personal data that you process. The second thing is basically implementing operationally the deletion or removal of the data once you lose business and legal justification. Of course, understanding retention obligations is not simple, as this is not written in the PDPA. It's written all across the different laws within the country, or if you are working internationally in different countries. But even more complicated is basically implementing operationally the execution of data removal. And that means the more complex the IT environment, the more systems you have, the more different formats of data you have, the more different business processes you have, it becomes exponentially more complicated. So what we do is we have an orchestration engine, basically understanding the rules, implementing the rules across different business processes, understanding the dependencies between systems and data. And the most important thing is basically to have this orchestration, because this is the brains of the data removal. It is something that we do, we have done for a lot of customers, and I would say out of all the different requirements coming from the privacy world, maybe executing on data retention is technically most complex. And this is why businesses typically leave that to the end. And I always say this is cherry on top of your privacy program. First, do everything else, then automate data retention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And we actually have a quick question from the audience. Just going back on the consent. So the audience is asking: is consent the only legal basis for processing?
No, no, it is not, of course. There are other, but we will cover there a little bit later in the presentation. So if you don't mind, I would leave that to the next part.
No problem.
Good. So the next thing quickly to go through this is the data breach notification. Of course, organizations, in case data breach is identified, organizations are required to notify the Personal Data Protection Commission, or PDPC, and affected individuals of data breaches that pose significant harm. Then we have the do not call registry is this is related to telemarketing in the country, in Singapore. So before doing telemarketing, businesses must check the DNC registry to avoid contacting numbers that have opted out. We have seen this in some countries. Some countries don't have this. Singapore has a centralized on country level do not call registry. And the final one I have here is the policies and procedures. So each organization, each business should develop and implement clear internal policies and procedures for handling personal data, including breach response protocols and data access requests, or how individuals can request those. So understanding this, what I would like to say that at Legit, our focus is on regulatory technology. Specifically automating as much as possible around data protection, and then expanding into other regulations. So we've built a privacy automation and governance platform, Data Privacy Manager, which can help you streamline and simplify compliance. And we typically see 4 pillars of privacy automation. First one is data discovery, where we use artificial intelligence to identify and classify personal data across all formats, ensuring you can find anything anywhere. The second one is privacy program management, which streamlines the entire privacy program so teams can work more efficiently and maintain seamless collaboration. The third one is consent mastering, which automates consent and preference collection in real time while controlling downstream data processing. And the fourth one is data removal, where we can automate removing personal data once the legal or business justification for holding it expires. So in every industry, we've seen significant benefits for our clients: faster compliance, lower operational costs, and more transparent data practices.
And you know, because we have a great automated data discovery tool for sure. And can you maybe like share a real world example where automated data discovery tool that can surface some unknown personal data in legacy or shadow systems? So when you do this kind of scan, can you maybe give us an example when it prevented a regulatory compliance headache?
Yeah, of course. I mean, data discovery is very versatile tool, and it has a lot of different use cases, both from technical and compliance perspective. From compliance perspective, we've seen, of course, very simple use cases where we would have a company thinking, the DPO thinking, or compliance team thinking that they are maybe processing just simple contact data of individuals like name, address, telephone number, email address, and so on. However, in reality, we would find like 50 plus different domains of personal data within the systems. And what I'm going to show you now with data discovery, just briefly explaining how that works. I also have a few use cases how basically data discovery helps the businesses. So let's go there, and then Mia, let me know if you have any follow-up questions on this. Oh, so the data discovery tool works in a way that it connects both to unstructured data sources and structured. And when I say structured, I mean anything in tabular format like relational database or an Excel sheet, and unstructured could be anything else like uh, Word documents, emails, text files, so anything where natural language processing is required. And what we do is we connect and we read both the data and metadata. And it's very important that we read the data because a lot of tools out there basically lean on metadata. They don't really read through the documents and records in the databases. We actually do. And our data discovery then does the machine learning classification, and we store everything in a centralized repository called data inventory. And then we use the data inventory with the reports and logs with the point-in-time view of your personal data landscape. We use it as the technical baseline for any further automation, but also for compliance, for understanding and discovering risks within the systems. And the use cases for data discovery are, I mean, this is a critical component of privacy program management within the company. And this is typically the starting point. This is why we say this is pillar number one. It doesn't have to be necessarily, but typically this is the baseline. And I mean, before we can automate data anonymization, we must have a continuous process of discovering personal data across all systems. And this is a massive challenge because we have seen, I have an example here of a mid-sized telco. This was in Adriatic region, where their data warehouse system contained like over 10,000 tables with personal data. We have a very similar case in banks and insurance companies. So without automated discovery, identifying and classifying personal data is nearly impossible. Then second, one of the biggest issues in companies, especially enterprise companies, is personal data duplication caused by development activities. Developers often copy production data to test environments or new schemas, making it difficult to track manually. So a data discovery system ensures that all personal data is included in anonymization process to prevent unauthorized exposure. Then third is data discovery helps monitor new data collection and identify risks. And this really applies to companies of any size, be it small, medium, or enterprise. If new personal data is introduced, the system detects those data and assesses risk based on location, category, and or applied security measures. So this ensures compliance and prevents regulatory surprises. And finally, data discovery is essential for controlling personal data in unstructured data sources like documents. Even with a document management system, most companies have no clear visibility into what types of personal data are stored in documents. We typically call this dark data pools because no one knows what happens in OneDrive, Windows shared folder, and so on. So with data discovery, you gain insights into the types and volumes of personal data in files, and also enables personal data search. And this is especially useful when handling individuals' requests, allowing you to quickly find all documents containing data about a specific individual. So by implementing data discovery, companies improve compliance, automate processes, and reduce privacy risks at scale. Now, the next pillar is the privacy program management, which consists of a lot of different capabilities which are designed to help you automate and build a robust privacy program within the company. As each company in Singapore needs to have a DPO, the DPO should have their tool set, a software that basically helps them centralize documentation, see how you are doing in terms of risks and requirements, delegate tasks to different people within the company, measure and monitor overall compliance status. And this consists of the centralized records of processing activities, risk assessments, third-party management, data assets, a centralized risk register, incident response, individuals, data subject request management platform, data retention, and contract management. So really, there is a lot of different capabilities that help the DPO and the company manage their privacy program. Otherwise, they do it manually. They use Excel sheets, Word documents. Everything is scattered across the company. You are never really up to date. You are always missing something. So this is a tool set that keeps everything nicely tight in one place, centralized, digitalized, and automated in a sense that you have workflows, tasks, notifications, and delegation of responsibilities within the teams in the company. And then the heart of this is, of course, the processing that the company does. The heart of it is basically keeping track of what you do with personal data as a company. The records of processing activities, be it obligatory or not, like in this case, you need to have it both from compliance perspective, from operational perspective, from cybersecurity perspective, from risk management perspective. You need to understand your processing activities because these are your business processes. And the processing activity has information about the purposes, which can be consent, which can be contract. You have information about the ownership. So from governance perspective, who is the owner of the processing activity, which part of the organization, like department, is the processing activity assigned to, which systems, whether they are IT systems or not, which systems are used to process data. And of course, are you sharing and disclosing this data to third parties? And then you need to have this control over the supply chain, like who is your processor? Do they have a sub-processor? What are their obligations? Do you have a contract with them? Or is there any cross-border data transfer? And so on. And what we always try to do with the software is move you from a centralized privacy program framework to a local or decentralized. While on the left side, centralized means that you will have the DPO, who is the single point of contact for data protection, and basically the only person who cares because no one else understands data protection and they think DPO should be doing everything. What we actually want to do is you have the DPO as the central monitoring role, but you also have the business process owners, people who have their tasks and basically help the DPO keep things updated. It's very important to have a centralized cockpit and dashboard, understand what is happening with personal data within the company. And this is what we provide with privacy program management alongside much more in terms of capabilities. One of the things that we have here is the data retention knowledge base. We have the global knowledge base, including Singapore, where we have extracted all the retention records. And just to help you understand what they are, is we see the data processing as a life cycle as a four-step activity, where you have the collection of data and lawful processing of the data for the initial original business purpose, maybe related to marketing or retail, maybe to human resources, advanced analytics, whatever you do with personal data, initially you need to collect them from the individual with interaction with them, and you process this as a part of the everyday business. But at some point, basically, your lawful basis expires. Where this is the time when you enter the data retention period. Now, this retention period may be 6 months, maybe 10 years, but you need to archive, store, keep the data for this defined data retention period. But once the retention period expires, then you need to remove them. So this data retention period is complex in terms of you need to do a lot of research to understand the industry and how long you need to store the data. And where we can help is with our filers, keepers, retention records knowledge base. So filers, keepers are basically our data provider. They are a Dutch company that does only that. They have like an army of lawyers, and they use artificial intelligence to read through all the laws in the world and basically extract retention records from those laws, and we have them available in our database for our users of Data Privacy Manager. So it really helps, keeps things simple, and speeds up any research that you need to do. All right, so a very simple case study of implementing privacy program within for our customers, which are a group of companies in the region, and how they used privacy program management is to standardize data protection across all countries, to ensure consistent categorization of data subject categories and data types for high quality. So they use the same terminology across all countries. They have local DPOs, they have a group DPO. The group DPO basically has control over all operational companies' data. Local DPOs have control over every country local data. Also, to establish common organizational units at the group level and local units level, so they would have maybe a common human resources, like a department, to unify templates and workflows for processing activities, basically to do things the same way. Once they have a new product or service in a specific country, they need to go through all the same steps, doing maybe the impact assessment, privacy impact assessment, creating a record of processing activities, using the same standardized data categories, data subject categories, data domains, and similar. And also, they have standardized their high-risk activity assessment for privacy impact analysis using the same templates, maybe translated into different languages. So very important for building a standardized privacy program, for making it robust, automated, to decentralized, understandable, and so on. Good. So let's move on to consent mastering.
Well, let me ask you a question. You know, when we're talking about consent mastering, you know, marketing and sales, you know, they always want to do things fast because they want to reach as many prospects and potential clients as possible. And so then you kind of have this speed of, let's say, client-facing roles against the legal precision for the actual consent. Where do you see that organizations typically slip up? And how do you actually keep every data use decision traceable?
So they where they slip up typically is by not understanding the consent requirements. So what they like to do is they like to group every processing of data into a single consent. This what you asked me in the beginning, like, can you do everything once you have a consent? Yeah, they like to formulate the consent language, the consent notice, in a way that they should be able to do everything with my data when I opt in. That's if they are doing that, they don't even need to bother to collect consent because it's not legal, it's not lawful. So this is one thing, and the second thing is they are they will collect consent from you. They will get an opt-in, but they don't provide an easy way for me to opt out.
Okay, and does there have to be an easy and clear way for you to opt out?
Yeah, otherwise the whole process doesn't make sense. So yeah, there is the requirement for an easy opt-out. So opt-out should be as easy as opt-in.
Okay,
Basically.
great. Well, I think we can all agree that for the most part, that's not necessarily the case. It's very easy to opt in, but it can be quite a bit of a maze to opt out.
Yeah, it's a maze, definitely. So I would say these are the two things that most companies need to do better. And I mean, this is where we help. We have the
Absolutely.
very advanced consent mastering platform where we have an end-to-end automation both of the collection and processing of data, allowing a centralized place for self-service management of consents, opt-ins, opt-outs for the individuals, and we can integrate into very complex enterprise processes like within banks and telcos, where we become the centralized consent mastering system, a single source of truth for everything. Every downstream marketing platform or analytical platform will always go to us to check whether they can process specific individuals' data. And from any interaction point with the individual, if the company has this omni-channel digital journey, the individual can basically access the portal, the preference center that we provide, and basically self-service and manage their consents and preferences in real time. So the two main entities that we have here are consent purpose. Consent purpose is like the entity that defines why you as a company collect data, and it provides a container for collected consent records. And then we have the consent records, which are like opt-in, opt-out transactions from the individuals. And you can see here the centralized consent engine is connected to all the collection point where you collect opt-ins and opt-outs from the individuals. It will handle all the different scenarios like individual giving consent, revoking consent, reconsenting for the same purpose, where data needs to change, where preferences need to change. If there are duplicate transactions due to many different channels, if there is purpose deactivation, meaning that you will not do the same thing anymore, when you need to import historical consents, when there are retroactive consents due to manual processes, and if there's consent record expiry. So all of these scenarios are handled by the consent engine, and then basically opt-in and opt-out transactions are stored either in the given consents collection or the revoked consents collection. And this becomes the central source of truth for every department, every process within the company that leans on processing based on consent.
Let me just also just to clarify, because you were also describing like a typical privacy program rollout, but with our platform, the clients can just buy the consent mastering module, for example, and not even do the data discovery. What I'm trying to illustrate is that because our solution is very modular, and each of the modules solves a specific challenge under the data privacy regulation. So our clients don't actually have to buy, end-to-end solution, even though we provide that. They can just pick and choose the modules they need. So for example, they could just buy the consent mastering module. I'm just trying to relate that point across, because we know that a lot of clients have they like the consent mastering module for the reasons we just discussed.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of customers that only use consents. So for us, always it was very important to design the tool in a way that customers can think big and start small. Basically, either it's data discovery or privacy program management or consent, and then when there is a need, when there are other risks that appear, then they can basically expand. So what I'm thinking is I'm looking at the time, And I want to do one more thing before we move on to the Q&A session. So I want to show this. And this leans nicely to the point that you just made about this being a modular solution. Every box here is like, you can see, I was talking about data discovery, privacy, program management, consent, and data removal. Each of these phases have different modules shown as a box here. So what you can do is you can pick and choose, you can select which modules you need. However, what happens a lot of times with our customers is when they see this, they don't know where to start because everything seems like a good fit. They know they need to do a lot, and the question is always, where do we start? What is the best fit for us? And how do we determine where our highest risks are? And this is why we introduced as a step zero, as a phase zero, we introduced the SOPA, the State of Privacy Assessment, which is an exercise that we do together with the customer through a few workshops and basically understanding their current state of privacy. And how we do the SOPA is we do it very quickly. We use the standardized methodology, which is always localized in ways that the baseline will be the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology Privacy Framework, consisting of 5 areas. But we always adapt it to a local regulation and needs by including the specific data protection regime requirements, in this case, the PDPA for Singapore. So what we do is we go through this and help companies determine their current privacy maturity. And you can see here in the next slide, with the basic SOPA, we delivered the privacy maturity report and recommendations for improvement. And with the SOPA Plus, that where we will conduct a little bit more workshops with different departments, we will additionally deliver the executive summary and presentation and identified risks and mitigations. So the executive summary and presentation is important because when you want to invest in privacy automation, there are long-term benefits for the company. Sometimes just knowing that there are long-term benefits is not enough to get an executive buy-in within the company, especially if you want to prioritize investment into privacy. So for them, it's very important to understand the risks that the company has, to understanding the legal requirements that the company has, and to get some urgency in terms of basically assigning budgets and investing in privacy automation. I think the long-term benefits are always clear, but the urgency is not. So SOPA really helps with that as well. But the goal of the SOPA in general is to highlight the risks and provide a roadmap for automation. And this helps companies basically prioritize their needs and start with the implementation of privacy automation. Good. So Mia, if you think this makes sense, I'm just now looking at the time. We have like 10 more minutes. I would like to see the questions from the audience, but if you want very shortly cover why data privacy matters more now than ever, feel free.
Because of the interest of time, I'm just going to go it through really quickly. Basically, what we're seeing here is, and we also know. And by the way, Paul is going to start in any second. Maya is going to run it, so feel free to take part in it. But basically, we're ingesting more personal data than ever at any point in history. You know, mobile apps, loyalty programs, all the devices that we have, and now all of the generative AI chatbots that log conversations in real time. And we're some reports are actually saying that the global data volume will triple again by in the next 2 years. So imagine if you can't map what you already have today, how are you going to manage all of the data when it's 3 times more tomorrow. And so on one hand, we have the volume of data that's rising, but the fines are also rising as well, because we have all seen the huge rise in fines. Meta being fined 1.2 billion. Not many companies can actually withstand that kind of financial scrutiny. So the stakes are rising on both fronts: the data volume and the regulatory. So and this obviously creates a lot of risks for the companies. However, using our system, we can really help in many, many, many ways, because we have improved collaborations across different departments in the company. So everybody's taking responsibility for their own processing. You're also being future ready, because with our tool you can quickly adapt to evolving regulations, because they are evolving very fast, and manual compliance just no longer cuts it. And with the tool that then you're using, we can our clients typically see 90% less manual work, 50% faster audits, and that distance gives them a confidence to actually also launch new, for example, data-driven projects without fear of being non-compliant. So these are some real life scenarios and real life solutions using our platform.
Good. Thanks, Mia. One more thing I want to say, and then we can move on to the Q&A, is that next week, if anyone's going to be at the GITEX Asia, it's happening in Singapore. It's a great event. We are going to be there. So I think it's also a good opportunity to meet up. And if you have any questions related to Data Privacy Manager and privacy compliance in general, our experiences and how we can help, I think also a good place to meet up. So just let us know if you're going to be there. You can book a meeting with me on the platform. This brings us to the end. Thank you very much for being here. Let's just see if there are any questions that we can answer before ending the webinar.
Sure, we have a few questions. So the first question is, maybe you answered it already. How does automation actually reduce the workload of compliance under PDPA?
Well, in many different ways. One of the things is that the work related to compliance and PDPA in terms of basically keeping track and monitoring every requirements is something that is often not done due to basically teams not doing it, forgetting about it, or not being aware of the obligation. So one thing that the DPM does is basically keeps you informed, creates tasks, has workflows which are scheduled, and makes sure that everything is done properly in time. And the tasks are delegated to proper organizational roles, to proper people. In terms of data discovery and consent mastering, without the tool, there's basically you cannot do some of the things, like depending on the size of the company and complexity of the data landscape, you cannot manually be monitoring new data domains and types that appear in documents and databases and applications. Even if you can, this is so much faster because we use AI, and this happens in a blink of an eye. From consent perspective, again, centralized management of records, reporting based on this, automating downstream processing of data based on the current status of consent is something that you cannot do without the platform. Also, in terms of automating data removal, this is a very technical thing. So It's not just about reducing the workload, it's about actually first making things possible, but reduced workload in terms of speed, efficiency, and delegation of responsibilities, like shifting from a centralized to a decentralized privacy governance model is the most important thing. I mean, we have seen like workflow work reduced like for more than 90% in enterprise companies compared to how they were doing things before implementing the software and after implementing DPM.
Thank you, Marian. Okay, so we have another question. So just to understand, what dictates the data retention part? Is it company or the Singapore government?
Typically, the laws and guidelines coming from the government, yes, are the ones that dictate the retention periods, which are defined in different laws and regulation. So like I said, this is not a part of the PDPA, rather it's written in other laws and regulation, like specific to industry.
Okay, and one more question. How do we demonstrate accountability under the PDPA beyond just having a privacy policy?
So demonstrating accountability means that according to each of the requirements, you can demonstrate that you are doing things properly. So for example, you can see there is a nice list of activities done by the PDPC on their website. They have not just the fines issued, but the activities that they are doing. And I think it's a good place to check out for what they are doing when they are doing the supervisory authority audits. But think about consents. What you need to do is you need to demonstrate that you have properly collected consents. So you need to have these transactions, opt-in transactions, where you can see who is the individual identified by a specific identifier, what they have consented to, what data you collected from them, how this happened. So something, in order to be able to demonstrate something, you need to have written documented proof about it. Just having the privacy policy is you writing what you are doing with the data, but demonstrating means to be able to show how you are doing it with the data. So this is where you can also use Data Privacy Manager, where you have the centralized records of processing activities, contracts with third parties when disclosing data, records of consents, data discovery to show what is the actually personal data that you have, that you are collecting, and so on.
Okay, thank you. I think this is all the questions that we have time to answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and I hope to see you in Singapore very soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Feel free to contact us and try to book a meeting with Marian. I think it's going to be very helpful. Thank you so much.